Hello, welcome to the Case for DNA, Part 1, Understanding the Basics. I'm Renata Yarbrough Sanders, and I'm pleased to be with you today. In this introductory session, we will identify major testing companies and discuss some of the differences between them. We'll discuss different types of testing that are used for genealogical research, and we'll talk about the emotional side of DNA testing. So we'll start off with this one somewhat scientific slide. It's the only scientific slide you'll see in my presentation. But just to be sure that we all know what we're talking about here, DNA, deoxyribonucleic acid. And we know from back in our junior high school days that we all are made up of cells, and that within each cell there is a nucleus. And within that nucleus, we have chromosomes, 23 pairs to be exact. And within those 23 pairs of chromosomes, that's where we find our DNA. So what is this DNA testing all about? Well, first of all, there are 5 major companies that provide the types of DNA tests needed to help us in our genealogical research. They are Ancestry DNA, 23andMe, Family Tree DNA, MyHeritage, and Living DNA. And the 4 that you see with the red stars, in addition to providing the basic genealogical information we'll be talking about, they are now also providing health reports that you can purchase for an additional cost. So what types of DNA tests are available for genealogy research? First, we're going to look at autosomal tests, or otherwise known as ATDNA. These tests look at the first 22 chromosomes and test the markers on those, plus on the X chromosome. They're best for identifying genetic matches within 4 to 5 generations. And yes, they are used to estimate those ethnicity percentages that we see advertised all the time. The autosomal DNA test is available through all 5 of the companies that were mentioned on the previous slide. And the raw data from these tests can be uploaded to several of the other websites. So say you test with Ancestry, you can upload your raw data from Ancestry to MyHeritage, to FTDNA, and even to third-party sites like getmatch.com. Now for those who are a little more visual, we see here that we have the autosomal diagram provided by Visual DNA, and we have here 2 parents for the female, 2 parents for the male, and they are each contributing 50% of the testee's autosomal DNA. The next type of test we're talking about is the Y test, or otherwise called Y-DNA. This tests the origins of the paternal line only. So Y-DNA is only passed down from male to male, from biological father to biological son, and so on. Y-DNA will give you what is known as a paternal haplogroup, meaning that all men who share that specific haplogroup descend from one common ancestor a couple of thousand years ago. This test is available through FTDNA, 23andMe, and Living DNA. To take a look at our visual, you'll see that our young lady who may have tested does not have any Y-DNA because females only have 2 X sex chromosomes. So you'll see that her mother did not give her any Y-DNA and her mother's mother did not give her any Y-DNA. However, on the female side, her father did have Y-DNA that he got from his father. So in order to find out her Y origins, she would have to have a brother or her father to test, or one of her father's brothers or a grandfather, someone who's in that male line, as well as a male cousin who may descend from the same grandfather. But if you look at the male side, you see that he gets that Y chromosome directly from his father, who got it from his father, and so on. So that's how the Y is passed down. The next type of testing is mitochondrial DNA or mtDNA, which is kind of the exact opposite of Y testing. The mtDNA test will test the origins of your maternal line. This DNA is passed down from a mother to all of her children, male and female, but then only her female children can then pass it on to their children. The mtDNA will give you your maternal haplogroup, giving you an idea of your deep ancestry origins or ancestral origins by ethnicity. And this test is only available through ftDNA. Looking at our illustration, we now see that our female testee is getting this mtDNA from her mother, which her mother got from her mother. You also see the male testee is getting the mtDNA from his mother, which she got from her mother. You do not see any males passing on the mtDNA, but you do see that each female gives the mtDNA to both their sons and their daughters. The fourth type of testing we'll discuss is X chromosome testing. This is included by default with your autosomal testing. Some companies report it to you and some don't. Now, females carry two X chromosomes as they've received one from each of their parents. Males will carry one X chromosome, which he gets from his mother. If you test with 23andMe, they will give you the information about whether or not you and a given match are matching on the X chromosome. And you can also get that information with third-party sites like GEDmatch. So let's take a look at our illustration, where we see that our female testee has two X chromosomes, as mentioned, one of which she got from her father, the other of which she got from her mother. And her mother has also gotten two X chromosomes, one from her father and one from her mother. On the male side, where there's an X and a Y in our testee, you see that he got that one X from his mother. His father did not pass down any X information to him. And then you see that the mother, his mother, had gotten her two X chromosomes, one from her mother and one from her father. Now, this is a chart that I like to show. It comes from smarterhobby.com, and you can go there and read the whole chart. I use it just to point out a couple of things in an easy way when we compare the differences between these five companies. I like to first talk about the collection method. You will see that some companies use saliva, meaning you're spitting into a tube, and some use a cheek swab, meaning that you're just using like a Q-tip and rubbing the inside of the cheek. This is something important to consider if you're testing someone who's elderly, who may have certain diseases or illness that makes it hard for them to produce saliva. Sometimes just being older can make it harder for you to produce saliva. There are some little tips and tricks that you can look up on the internet to help with that. But generally, if you think it's going to be a problem, you would want to use one of the companies who use the cheek swab. And so that would be Family Tree DNA, MyHeritage, or Living DNA. The other thing that I want to point out is the companies that have the tool that helps genealogists work with our matches and kind of determine or helps us to determine what side of our family or what line of our family a certain match might be a part of. And that is the chromosome browser. So I want you to note that neither Ancestry DNA nor Living DNA will provide a chromosome browser. So if you are interested in doing the kind of work that needs to be done with a chromosome browser. You'll either need to upload your results from those sites to another site, or you'll just need to test with one of the other companies. So to wrap up this part of the presentation, I just want to talk for a few minutes about the importance of preparing yourself emotionally and otherwise for DNA testing. I can guarantee you that with DNA testing, you're going to experience a full range of emotions depending on how much you decide to work with your matches. You'll end up having some surprises, you'll have some kind of scary situations that might occur or maybe make you a little nervous. There'll be some things that will make you sad. Most people have shed some tears over their DNA results. You're definitely going to have some things that make you happy. You might make some discoveries that make you angry. And I always tell people there's usually going to be at least one thing that you just think is just silly. It's just going to kind of make you laugh and just be like, wow, that's silly. So get yourself ready to experience a range of emotions with DNA testing. Now, some of the things that you can do to make this go smoothly is first and foremost, let your family members know that you are testing. The reason for this is because all of our DNA testing results have given us information that was previously unknown. It's a good idea, especially with your more immediate family members, to let them know you're testing and to go ahead and ask them up front whether or not they want to be informed about your findings. So they can tell you, no, I don't want to know anything, don't give me any surprises. Or some people will say, yep, tell me all of it. So go ahead and, take note of what each person says and respect those boundaries that they give you. Educate yourself while you're waiting for your results. Sometimes you can get really antsy while you're waiting, so in the meantime, watch videos like this one. You can go on the ISOG website and learn a lot about the ins and outs of DNA testing. Go on YouTube and just Google DNA testing. There's so much that you can learn from this, so please educate yourself during your waiting period. And seek support or guidance before you test if there's a particular thing that you're kind of nervous about. Maybe you are testing for a specific reason to find out who a parent may have been. You might be an adoptee. You might be trying to find both of your parents or a birth family. Go ahead and seek whatever guidance and help you might need. And definitely after you receive your results, reach out for help, either through professional therapists or just through support groups like you might find in the Facebook community. Be prepared to hear from your matches unless you opt out. Now, as genealogists, we don't want anybody to opt out, but a lot of people don't realize that matches are trying to reach them. Every one of the genealogy testing companies gives you a way to contact your matches. So be aware of it and check it often. And if you know you're not going to check it, go ahead and opt out because people may be waiting for years and years to hear from you and you have no intention of talking to them. Reach out to the genealogy community through Facebook, through DNA groups that you might find on the testing sites, especially projects on FTDNA. Just again, getting all the support that you need. And please don't let the ethnicity estimate results that you'll get change the way you feel about yourself. You are who you are and you identify however you identify. Finding out that you may have something else in you shouldn't change who you are. It should add to who you are. And just embrace whatever new connections you make as a result of DNA testing, and please share your tree. If the DNA testing site allows you to upload a tree, please upload it so that those who see you as a match can begin to try to determine what your connection might be. This concludes part 1 of the case for DNA. I hope you'll return to check out part 2, where you'll see some real-life examples of how DNA has come to play in solving some mysteries in people's family histories. If you'd like to contact me, my email address is yarsan@aol.com. My 2 blogs are Into the Light and Genial Related. You can reach me on Facebook at Renata Yarborough-Sanders and on Twitter at Nada Sue. Thanks, and thank you to RootsTech for having me.